Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races in Hong Kong and try to isolate an aspect of the race that might be crucial to finding the winner. Well, Saturday racing this weekend, and the first race we're going to take a look at is race 6, and our winning factor here, the map. And in this class 4 over 1400 metres, I think most punters are going to be zeroing in on the prospects of Zac Purton's mount, Victory Scholars, the impressive last start winner, Light of Wan Shi, and maybe a few fans for the likes of Dragon Fortune, Win 33 and Brilliant China. But this is mostly about Victory Scholars and Light of Wan Shi, so let's take a look at what they've been doing. First of all, we're going back to Light of Wan Shi's most recent run, and this is race 7:10. He's in mainly red colours with a light blue cap, and he's not the best away, but his rider Vincent Ho, you see, is in no hurry, parks him out the back and just wants the horse to relax near the tail of the field. And on the heat map, you see he's not getting an awful lot of help from the tempo, only a moderate pace, but we still see him in the home straight explode with a brilliant turn of foot, and down the middle of the track he gobbles up the leaders and comes away to win easily. Although he didn't beat a great field there, the clock told a good story for Light of Wan Shi because he recorded the 7th best last 400 metre sectional of the meeting, and that was on a card that included 2 Group 3s and a quality Class 2. So it was a pretty good indication for this grade. So let's take a look at Victory Scholars now, and he's had 4 starts without winning but has run well in every one of them. And in race 7:34 he's in a 1200 metre race, also slowly run. He's in red colours, he's 3rd on the fence in an ideal position, except for the fact that he looks a little bit keen in running in the very slow first half of the race. And when they in turn, Infinite Power and the highly rated Lucky With You in front of him sprint fast in the straight, they're too fast for Victory Scholars and they come away from him. Now, he does keep trying and he still managed to hold off the rest, and he still managed to make it into the top 20 last 400 metre splits of his particular day in getting into 3rd placing. I think you'd agree on face value the better performance was Light of Wan Shi, and I guess if all things remained equal then he would be certainly the winner again on Saturday. But this time he goes up in the weights, and we've got a bit of a classic confrontation on the map. A basically head-to-head contest, a 2-horse race where the better horse is going to have the disadvantage of giving away a big start. And when we take a look at the map for the race, this time I think it might be Victory Scholars who will go to the front and dictate the terms rather than following behind in a slow pace. And he could be the one sprinting away at the top of the straight. It's a race without speed, and Zac Purton on the leader is a brilliant tactician. And I think he might be able to put a little bit of real estate between himself and Light of Wan Shi at about the halfway mark in the straight. Then it's a case of whether Light of Wan Shi can produce that same turn of foot and whether he can produce it with the extra weight. So the tip in race 6, Victory Scholars. His winning factor, the map. This is a classic head-to-head, the better horse giving the start, the inferior horse having the luck, and we'll see what happens. But I think he's certainly going to give you a good sight of beating the likely favourite. The other race I want to take a look at is going to get plenty of attention. It's the final race, race 10, and our winning factor here, the tempo. Now this features the return of Naboo Attack from the David Hayes stable after his big first up win. But I think there will be arguments made for other horses like the runner-up and 3rd place getter that day respectively, Mr Croissant and Trillion Win, and also for the likely leader of the race, Highly Proactive. But as I said, a lot of eyes will be on Naboo Attack, a first up winner in Class 2, touted now by David Hayes as a Group 1 winner next season, and I thought we'd better take first of all a look at what all the fuss is about. So this is race 718, Naboo Attack. He's in the blue colours, red cap, and gets back early. Mr. Croissant in the white with yellow sleeves jumps well, but then he drifts back to be in the same part of the race with Naboo Attack. Meanwhile, Sight Success, Lucky Patch and Trillion Win, who is in the dark blue red sleeves and cap, set a good pace early and then an even faster pace mid-race. So Alexi Bedell on Trillion Win eases out of that fight and drops back to third. But even so, those three leaders have all done a bit of work in the early stages, the first half of the race, so it's going to suit horses further back in the field who can finish off, and both Mr. Croissant and Naboo Attack are in the right place. Far enough back to have plenty of chips in reserve, not so far back that they have too much left to do, and they both surge home together in the straight, with Naboo Attack coming clear near the line. So an impressive win first up in Hong Kong and in Class 2, and that doesn't happen very often. There have been just a few of them this season, but usually there are only one or two in a season. And so I thought it's significant to see what those horses do, having achieved that rare feat of winning first up, what they do subsequently. So you'll see on this table here, this goes back to 2010, and we're looking at first up winners with previous race form. Such horses are called private purchases or PPs in Hong Kong racing. And you'll see horses rated 60 plus, which means Class 3 or higher, which win on debut here, have won their next start around 19% of the time, which is not a bad strike rate, except that many of them were hot favourites, so they have underperformed as far as the betting market's concerned. And that includes many who went on to be stars: Able Friend, Military Attack, Werther, Beauty Only, multiple Group 1 winners, Horses of the Year, to name a few, but they were beaten second up after winning first up in Hong Kong. And you see the figures for horses winning first up in Class 2 with ratings of 80 or more are even bleaker. 0 wins at their next appearance. And that is the category that includes Naboo Attack, a first up winner off 82. And that's a very telling sort of statistic. And I can take that further. David Hayes, of course, trained here from the late 80s through to the early 2000s. And in that time, he had 6 horses win first up in Hong Kong in Class 2 or better, and none of those won at their next start either. So they're the kinds of statistics that send me looking for something to beat this favourite, despite the fact he is the one with all the form. And I think the big vulnerability is on the map. As we see here, Naboo Attack was well suited first up by the tempo, that strong mid-race surge by the leaders, but will he get that again? And I'm not convinced he will. With a wide draw, and also a wide draw for Mr. Croissant, I think they may be forced to give a bigger start to Trillion Win this time, and without that same strong pace to weaken the leaders. So the tip in race 10, Trillion Win. His winning factor, the tempo. And while I acknowledge that Naboo Attack deserves to be a short price favourite, and I'm sure he will be, those statistics are quite scary as far as the second up performances for those horses. And Trillion Win, a horse who himself won first up in Hong Kong impressively and hasn't been able to win since, I think this time the map lends itself to him. And although he's been defeated since that first up win, it's been behind the likes of Naboo Attack and Courier Wonder, so it certainly hasn't been a disgrace. And I think he's certainly worth a ticket this time to beat the hot favourite. Well, that's it from the Winning Factor for this week. See you next time.